at the start, which I've indicated, I directed. And then I went back to New York. I went back into the theater, where incidentally I did a couple of live shows, I think a Kraft or I think a Theater Guild or whatever, and even directed one multiple camera show for NBC, but I can't even remember the series it was for. However, when, so I was in New York, and then also I directed in the theater, I directed The Golden Apple, which won, it was a musical which won the New York Critics Award for the best musical. And I was in at the beginning of the Phoenix Theater, a posthumous play of Sidney Howard that Hume Cronin, Jessica Tandy, and I did. Hume and I directed it, and the three of us were in it. So I was doing that in New York, and I used to come out in the summer to the La Jolla Playhouse, which had been started by Greg Peck and Joe Cotton and Dorothy McGuire and Jennifer Jones and Mel Ferrer. And I was a director at that theater, although I did make an appearance in a short piece, the Don Juan and Hell thing. Now, while I was doing that, Joan Harrison, in that period, 1955, Revue was expanding, and then Lew Wasserman made a coup. He got Hitchcock to agree that he would do a television series. Big stuff for this new medium with half-hour shows. Hitch agreed with this format, with Jimmy Allardyce writing it. Joan Harrison, when it started out, Hitchcock was the producer. Joan Harrison was the associate producer. In the second year, Hitch became the executive producer, Joan became the producer. The third year, this program took on another show called Suspicion, which was spread out in assignments all over, not just the Hitchcock operation, but in New York. They were doing some of them live and so on. But when they took on the second show, in addition to the Hitchcock show, which did 39 half hours a season, Joan needed someone to help. And Hitch and Joan thought of me. So they brought me into the operation. And eventually, I started as associate producer to Joan. Then along about midway, after about 5 years, Joan got married. She married Eric Ambler, and she wanted to ease off and not phase out quite, but reduce it considerably. So by this time I was made a producer and an executive producer of the show. And so the show was on for 10 years. I did 8 of them. And it's still playing. And it ended in 1965. Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And then after 7 years, I think, it went to the hour, and it was called the Alfred Hitchcock Hour.